Hello, and welcome to the last episode of this season. And today I'm going to talk another monologue like I did last week. This time I'm going to talk about building in Sotogrande, and specifically somebody who wants to build their own home here in the resort. So without further ado, let's get going. So, what's it all about? You've got all excited about your visit. You've come to Sotogrande. You have maybe not found the ideal home, and you've decided to build your own. And it's something that makes people very nervous, of course, because you may not speak the language Spanish. You may not know the way it works here. What I can say to you is that whatever people say, whatever you've heard, it is different to where you come from, and it works. So don't be alarmed, don't be worried. We have extremely good procedures here. We have very good architects, we have very good builders, but you must be careful and take care in terms of how you go about it. So what would be the way that you would do it? There'd be certain steps that you want to do, and in summary, they are the following. First of all, you'll have an initial consultation with your architect. You then get into what's called a preliminary stage, a concept stage. Then you get into what's called a basic project, and I'll go into that in a few minutes, followed by what's called an execution project, a proyecto de ejecución, as they say in Spanish. Thereafter, once all that is done, you get into the building itself, and the building begins. And that's when you come and go for about 18 months, depending on the size of your property. And after that's completed, you would have what's called a final completion, or the license of first occupation license, rather, is what would be issued to you so that you can actually go and live in the property. So there you are. Those are the steps that we're going to go through. So let's start. So the first thing is the design stage, or pre-design stage, rather. It's important that that is done very, very well, and understand what are the legal issues, what is possible or not, and what is realistic within your budget and within what you want to do on the plot. So the first consultation with your architect is basically to understand how he himself might work. What is the modus operandi? How does the architect want to work with you going back and forth? So that's one thing. Then the services and the responsibilities of everybody. So who does what and when. That's very important. The fee structure, so you understand what your architect will be charging you. This could be up to 8 or 11% for architects of the cost of the build. Or it could be more depending on the negotiations you have with the architect, who the architect is, and that sort of thing. And you should really understand the realistic time frames in terms of the build of how you go along. So the first meeting would really be about understanding your architect and reviewing your ideas as an individual, as a couple, as a family, what it is your requirements are. What are your needs? And very importantly, what is your budget? And it's important to understand the budget and where it is all going to, because many people have fallen foul of not understanding that and then getting short of that number and not being able to finish properly. Key to all of this, of course, is a visit to the plot that you ideally are going to buy. So if you meet your architect before you actually get involved with the purchase of it, so you understand exactly what you can do or not do there, that would be very good. But understanding the plot, understanding the gradients of the plot, understanding what the cork trees here in the area may or may not cause in terms of cost, because cork trees in Sotogrande are protected trees and you're not allowed to just chop them down willy-nilly. Okay, so you have to work around those. There are ways of either moving them within your plot or moving them somewhere else. There's a way to get around it, but be very careful with cork trees in Sotogrande. Another issue, of course, is views. Where are you looking? Where's the aspect of your house? And therefore, that is important in the design. Where the sun comes up and goes down, both in summer and both in winter. And the winds are very important. We are by the sea. We have predominantly two winds, what's called the Levante wind, and then the other one is the Poniente wind. The Levante comes from the sea, basically from the Levant. And remember, when you're in Sotogrande, when you look at the sea, you're actually looking east. You're not looking south as perhaps in other parts of the Mediterranean. People think you're on the north side of the Mediterranean, therefore you're looking south. You could be looking east. In this case, you are. So winds are predominantly easterlies here, levantes, which means that you may have winds that are blowing warm air in the winter and cold air in the summer, with the corresponding climatic changes that does. And in the inverse is the Poniente wind that comes across from land, which is very cold and crisp in the winter, and in the summer it is very hot and dry. So all those are things to think about in terms of where you're going to put the pool, where you're going to put the views, where you're going to put the windows, all that sort of thing. So that's very important. Another thing that you do with your architect before you even start, before you even buy, ideally, the plot, is to ensure you get a certificado urbanístico. This is a certificate of the urban condition of that plot and what you can or cannot build on it. So, in Sotogrande, you do have certain rules. They're quite free. Okay, you must be 6 meters from the road. You must be 3 meters from your neighbor. There are certain height restrictions, 6.5 meters for most of the place. Depending where you are in Sotogrande, down on the Costa side, you can cover the plot 40% and build, say, 400 square meters on a 1,000 square meter plot. 2,000 square meters could go up to 800. In other parts, it's 33%, and in La Reserva, it's 25%. So density actually goes down as you go up the mountain. So, make sure you understand what you can build and what the restrictions are in terms of setback and percentage occupancy. Never, ever really buy a plot without understanding this, so you know exactly what you can or can't do. So you should receive from your architect a real clear proposal, an outline budget, an explanation of every stage of the process, and ideally, if you're not Spanish, a bilingual contract so you understand what you are going to pay for. My key message here is that, if you do this phase well, 90% of any disaster that could possibly happen and that you hear about can be overcome at this stage. Once you finish the initial stage and understand what plot you want to buy, you get to the design stage. And this is where you start working with your architect to turn ideas into sketches, plans, 3Ds, all that sort of thing. So you get a good feel of what you want, the volumes of your house, where it's going to be, how it's going to sit on the plot, and that sort of thing. So it's purely design, okay? And this is where you really push and pull all the little aspects until you are 100% happy and right with what you have. Once you have this, you go on to the next stage, which would be, if you like, stage 3, which is called the proyecto básico. This is the basic project that you have. You've had your designs in the pre-design, and you're going to submit something to the town hall for the first time for them to approve that you have something which follows the rules and regulations of the property on that plot within the Sotogrande. So, okay, it's a blueprint of the ideas. It's not engineering, it's not technical drawings. It is just the basic drawing. So you get the tickety-boo from the town hall to say, yes, that's okay to go ahead. It's the first formal architectural document, if you like, which you submit to the town hall, and it obtains what's called initial planning permission. So it's licencia previa, or aprobación inicial, the initial approval from the town hall to say, yes, if you build to those that spec, you will be okay and within the rules. So fundamental here, the concept is that the house, that house that you're designing on that plot will be allowed, okay? It's not full construction project. It does not include structural calculations. It does not include technical details or material specifications. That comes later. So instead, this stage, it focuses on the urban compliance, as I mentioned, and the rules within the location that we are depending this is the Costa side, the Alto side, or La Reserva. So those are the 3 things. So what is the proyecto? What is it? Should it include? Okay, you have basically a site plan. Okay, location of the house on the plot. How does it sit? You got floor plans, which are general layouts of the plan. You got elevations. You got sections. You got roof plan. You got a basic volume and height. That is, gives them an idea, a very good idea of what the house will look like. These drawings show what the house should look like, not how it will be built. So it's what it looks like, not how it's going to be built. That comes later. So, urbanistic compliance analysis. What are they looking for when they begin doing that? Well, the first thing is to make sure your buildable area is right, the edificabilidad. Okay, that's important. The footprint, which is the occupation, on the plot. Setbacks, retranqueos, as it's called. Are you 6 meters from the back and from the road, and 3 meters from the sides? What is the maximum height? What are the distance from the boundaries? What percentage of the plot is actually being used? What are the parking requirements? What are the pool areas, annexes, and environmental considerations, such as maybe the trees, if you do have those. The town hall checks these very carefully, but it's important that you do that because you won't get to the next stage if you don't comply. Thereafter, you need a basic technical memory, which is the memoria básica of what you're doing. So the concept of the project, what is intended use of the building, which in Sotogrande will always be to live in as a property. The key materials they will be used in conceptual level, not into reality. The basic sustainability intentions and the regulatory framework of the whole thing. Health and safety pre-assessment, sort of very basic health and safety, make sure everything is working all right. And then the documentation from the town hall is then put down and left there for them to give you some feedback, hopefully within a reasonable amount of time. The basic project, the proyecto básico, does not include structural calculations, does not include mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineering or no MEP engineering there. No bills and quantities, no detailed measurements, no finishes or specification lists, no material selections, no technical quality standards. Okay, it's a planning document, not a construction document. Okay, it also exists for another very, very good reason. It avoids you spending an awful lot of money in the detail of the project before you get some sort of indication that what you're submitting will be approved. You could spend 15,000, 40,000 on a full technical project and more maybe, okay? And doing that on a project which is not really going to meet the approval of the town hall is a bit foolish. So it gives you an opportunity to say, I want to do that under these conditions. Is that okay? Okay. And once you get that approval in principle, you get permission, and you should therefore then be in a position to move to the technical project itself, the actual technical project or the execution project. Remember though, this is not a license to start building. Okay. All you're getting is pre-approval of what you're going to do. So the next stage is the actual execution project, proyecto de ejecución, as they call it. Okay, the proyecto básico has been submitted to the ayuntamiento, and you got initial planning permission. Tick. Next stage, the execution project. Okay, so once approved, you can start with the detailed documentation of the finishes, the fixtures, the lighting, the windows, structural details, bills of quantities, health and safety plan, surveys, certificates, all of that. Okay. You also must get a stamp from the Colegio de Arquitectos, which is College of Architects, because that is where they say this house is okay, it's not going to fall down, it's not going to fall on anyone's head, it's okay to be commit, and you submit this document, okay, to the town hall to build, and that once this is approved, and the timeline in getting approval can be 3 months, can be 6 months, can be 8, hopefully, depending on the workload of the municipality architects, then you will get your approval to begin to construct. It can be slow, it can be bureaucratic, but it's normal. So, in simple terms, the execution project is the full, detailed, technical version of your architectural project. It's the instruction manual, if you like, for the builder that he needs to construct a house exactly as designed, and the document from the town hall, the license that you got, all right, is the one that eventually you will get, which is the Licencia de Obra Mayor. Okay, it'll grant you a license for the final building license, Licencia de Obra Mayor. So the proyecto básico is, here is what I want to build, and the proyecto ejecución is, here is every single centimeter we want to build. So what and how. Why does this stage matter? Well, without it, no building license will be issued. Without a building license, if you start building, you are going to get into trouble. Without it, builders cannot give you accurate quotes. Okay, because this proyecto de ejecución will, once you have, the builder has it, can actually say, well, I can build that because of the specifications there, because of the amount of plumbing, the amount of electricity-wise, because of the amount of heating, the amount of blah, blah, blah. Okay, they can give you a quote, sizes and all of that. That's very important. Without it, without this thing, you cannot control quality, cost, or timing, basically. Okay, so you need all of those things. It is a document that all professionals, technical architects, project managers, builders, the OCT, which is insurance at the end, engineers, all of these people will rely on this document, and it's the blueprint, if you like, for the real blueprint to go ahead. So there you are. A long chat about how to do this. Let me just finally go through a few little things where people actually go wrong. First of all, biggest mistake is buying a plot without checking with the certificado urbanístico to make sure you can build what you want to build on that particular plot. Okay, it's the biggest and most expensive mistake. The next one is not understanding or misunderstanding the time frames. Nothing takes weeks. Most approvals take months. So ensure you understand the timeline between beginning to think about your property and when it might be delivered. Next mistake people make is choosing architects or builders based on price instead of a track record or reputation. Okay? Don't choose a builder because he's cheap. Choose one who's got a track record. Another mistake is assuming that the basic project is enough to start building. So people say, yes, we got it through, it's approved. You send machineries in, you start working, and then you get stopped because you don't have the full license. You need the execution license before you can start. Another big mistake made by foreigners usually is not hiring a technical architect. You need a technical architect to be there on a day-to-day. You need that on major works. It's super important. And it's the number one reason why things go wrong if you don't have the right technical architect working there. The next thing is assuming that the LPO, the first occupation license, is automatic. It's not automatic. It requires paperwork, it requires taxes to be paid, and it needs an inspector to come and make sure that everything that is being done is done correctly. So an LPO is not automatic. It needs to be processed. And the last and probably silliest of all is to think that you can fast track the town hall. You can't. You can't make them go faster. Okay, you submit your perfect plan, it's complete and compliant, but it'll come out when they're ready, not when you want it. So bear in mind that yes, it's bureaucratic. Yes, it can be slow. Yes, there are many steps. But when managed well, Spain delivers exceptional results. So building your home in Sotogrande isn't just construction. It's creating your place in the community. And you're very welcome to come to our community. Do it right. It's one of the best investments in your life.